The JoLynn Braley Show, episode number 132. What is Last Supper eating? Welcome back to the JoLynn Braley Show. This is JoLynn Braley, permanent weight loss coach, founder of the amazing Inner Self Diet, the diet that is not a diet, the diet that actually heals the root of the real problem. And what most people think the real problem is, they think that their problem is their binge eating, their emotional eating, their inability to stick with it, their inability to get going, a lack of weight loss motivation. Most people think that the problem is the excess fat on their body, but the thing is, the truth is, none of these things are actually the real problem. They are all symptoms of the real problem. And that's why the Inner Self Diet is so crucially important, because if you have any hope of actually ending your food and weight struggles once and for all, then the only way to do that is you have to heal the root of the real problem. And the real problem is within your inner self, okay? You've got to heal your limiting beliefs, your unhealthy self-image, your unhealthy addictions to, it's not even an addiction to the food. Most people are addicted to struggle. So there's a lot of things going on. And it doesn't have to take forever to heal these things when you have the right coach in your corner, when you have the proven system to work with. And that's the work that I've been doing with awesome coaching clients since 2009. I guide them personally through my proven steps of the Inner Self Diet, and we get down to business and we get it healed. My coaching clients, all they have to do is follow my instructions, follow the steps, and they are struggle-free with food and their weight in 8 weeks or less. It's pretty amazing. But it's not magic. You have to follow the steps and just follow the instructions. Pretty simple. Just like if you were to build your own log cabin, all right, you'd have to buy the lumber, you'd need to buy a hammer, you'd need to buy nails, and then you'd have to take action to put the thing together. Actually, do you use nails when you build a log cabin? I'm not sure. But whatever the supplies are that you'd need to build that log cabin, you'd have to get those supplies. You have to go to the hardware store or wherever you'd get supplies for a log cabin. But nothing would happen, nothing would occur, nothing would manifest. You wouldn't have a log cabin unless you were to take action. So it's the same thing with the Inner Self Diet. The tools are amazing. The tools work. The steps work. The Inner Self Diet works. It's worked for everyone that I have guided through it since 2009 who just follows the instructions. They just follow the steps and they break free of their food and weight struggles in 8 weeks or less, whether that's binge eating, emotional eating, nighttime stuffing, being addicted to food, using food to comfort yourself, using food for all of your problems in life, whatever the challenge is, the Inner Self Diet heals it. But enough about that. Hey, if you don't already have my free ebook, if you'd like to just learn a tiny bit more about losing weight from the inside out, okay, you can grab my free ebook. You can get that at www.easyfunweightloss.com, www.easyfunweightloss.com. And in that free download, you'll get 3 simple steps to start making weight loss easier from the inside out. They are not your typical food tips. They're not diet tips. They're not exercise tips. They are 3 steps that you can start with to start working on what you need to change from the inside out. Hey, the worst thing that could happen is that you get a paradigm shift and open your mind a little bit more to the fact that there's a reason why 95% of dieters fail. So if you get my free ebook, you can start learning just a tiny bit more. Get that at www.easyfunweightloss.com. All right, so today is episode number 132 of the JoLynn Braley Show. Thanks a lot for tuning in. You know, I started this podcast the first Thursday in January 2013. I really enjoy doing this, and I appreciate you listening. Who do you know who's struggling with food and their weight? Who do you know who is stuck in diet mentality? Who do you know is obsessed with food and they can't stop overeating? Or they might even be at their goal weight, but all they do is obsess about food. That's just as bad of a problem. I have had coaching clients who were within 5 pounds of their ideal weight, but they still wanted and needed my help because their mindset was driving them crazy. And that's the big problem. Your mind leads your body. You cannot get away from the fact that you're going to have to change your mindset in order to change your body if you want a long-term change that lasts. Mindset is 92.8% of the challenge. Today is episode number 132 of the JoLynn Braley Show, and this is actually the first of a 3-part series. So if you want to, come back and listen to episode number 133 next week and then 134 the following week. These are all going to go in sequence, these 3 podcasts starting today. And today's topic is, what is Last Supper eating? All right, so what is Last Supper eating? I'll answer the question for you right now. Last Supper eating is when you go to the store or you hit your fast food drive-thrus or your favorite convenience stores or whatever it is, wherever you have to go to get your food that you are shaking in your boots, obsessed in your fears that you're not going to ever be able to eat this food ever again your entire life because it's Sunday. Last Supper eating always goes down on Sunday. And Monday is the big day. That's the big diet mentality day when millions of people are again trying to force themselves to do another diet, and they might be able to stick with it until Monday afternoon or maybe Wednesday. Maybe they'll make it to Thursday. Most people are going to fail by Wednesday, and then they tell themselves, well, the weekend is coming up and I'll just start again on Monday. But then 52 times a year, they're engaging in this Last Supper eating that is all going down on Sunday out of fear that they're never, ever, ever, ever going to be able to eat their favorite binge foods ever again. And this is a really, really big problem. So Last Supper eating is a big blowout binge, but all it does is it sets you up for failure. And what's interesting is that if you were to just stop doing that one thing, just that one thing, you would begin to, over time, you'd begin to see results in a reduction in your body weight if you would just stop the Last Supper eating. But why don't people stop doing that? Well, this comes back to your mindset. All right. Mindset is 92.8% of the challenge. And that is the bulk of the work that I do with my coaching clients in the Inner Self Diet. You've got to get the right mindset. If what you want is long-term success with your weight, if you're okay with having a big blowout binge every Sunday, and maybe you do it all day on Sunday, or maybe just Sunday night, or maybe you stay up until 1 a.m. on Sunday to get all that food in, because as soon as you wake up the next morning, you're telling yourself that you're going to be changing and things are going to be different. But unfortunately, it never actually lasts. And the reason that doesn't last, the reason that you haven't been successful with this process, is just because you don't have the right mindset. All right? Mindset is 92.8% of the challenge. And mindset is about more than it's not just positive thinking, because if you try to get yourself to think positive, but underneath that is a foundation of very negative, unhealthy, limiting beliefs, then those limiting beliefs will always win out. And that's why, if you've ever had the experience, and by the way, if you've ever had this experience that I'm about to share with you, you're not alone. Millions of people are having the same problem. But if you've ever had the experience of forcing yourself to diet, and maybe when you started that new diet on Monday, after that Last Supper eating on Sunday, maybe you were able to stick with that new diet for a couple weeks or maybe even a couple months. But eventually what always happens is you can only go so far, because you eventually hit that emotional wall where you splat against that wall and everything falls apart, and you immediately run back to the food because you don't have the ability, you don't have the coping skills, you don't have the right tools. You never learned how to cope with ups and downs in life without using food to try to soothe yourself. Food is your only coping mechanism. And so when you attempt to take that food away by forcing yourself to do another diet on Monday, that's why you're never able to get very far. So the tools that you need are part of what will create a weight loss mindset for you. And you've got to have that core inner foundation. You've got to heal your inner self in order to succeed long-term with your weight. But if you stick with this Last Supper eating, where you have these big old binge blowouts every Sunday, and then you tell yourself that Monday is going to be different, you're going to really smack down on yourself, you're really going to shut the whole thing down, and you're just going to magically change overnight. Well, the biggest change that needs to occur is within you. And you've got to get the belief shift. You've got to get the identity shift. Your identity is who you are. You've got to shift so many things that you're not even aware of that are going on unconsciously, subconsciously within you. And it's those subconscious patterns that keep driving you to do what you continue to do to yourself, even though you don't want to stay overweight. You don't want to keep feeling crappy. You don't want to hate yourself. You don't want to hate your body, but you don't seem to be able to stop. By the way, if you keep telling yourself that you're stupid and that you're a loser or a failure, this problem is not a problem of intelligence. All of my coaching clients are very, very intelligent, and they're successful in their career, in their life outside of this food and weight problem. So this food and weight problem, it is not a problem that you can solve with your analytical mind. It's not a problem that you can solve with logic. You have to go to the core of the problem, and that's within your inner self. And a problem of trying to do that on your own is that you can't see what you can't see, and you don't know what you don't know. So you're stuck in your own blind spots, and that's why coaching is so valuable if you work with the right coach, because when you have the right coach, they can see objectively what is stopping you and then present it to you and say, hey, this is what I'm seeing. What do you think about this? And then how about doing this instead? What if we move forward with this tool to start bringing down that wall of resistance? And instead of trying to just beat the wall down, let's bring it down brick by brick by brick so that it'll stay down. All right? And do it consciously. Know what we're doing here instead of just kind of bumping around in the dark when you're trying to fix these issues on your own and you can't even see your own blind spots. Does this make sense? Are you getting this? Is my analogy making any kind of sense? Bottom line, there's a reason why you haven't been able to stop binge eating, to stop emotional eating. there's a reason why you haven't been able to fix these problems alone. And it's because you can't see your own blind spots. And this is true for every person on the planet. This is why the most successful people on the planet, none of them have gotten there on their own. They've all had coaches and mentors and teachers. They've all had help. And if you continue to try to keep going it alone, you can do that. It's your life. You've got your own free will. You can do whatever you want, but just be prepared for more struggle while you're trying to figure this out, because you can't see your own blind spots. And, coaching is just the fastest path to success. Ask any highly successful person. They'll tell you the same thing. Do you know now what Last Supper eating is? All right. It's usually almost always happening on a Sunday. You're doing it to yourself consciously or unconsciously. Some people, they could have a whole weekend of Last Supper eating because they are envisioning this new start on Monday. The problem, though, is that new start never really gets going because they don't have a weight loss mindset. And mindset is 92.8% of the whole kit and caboodle, the whole solution. Only 7.2% is healthy eating and healthy exercise. If you don't get the 92.8% right, then you will forever struggle with the 7.2%. And you know what? You don't even have to believe me. Just look at your own results. Look at your own lifetime of results and your lifetime of failures to lose the weight and keep it off. Okay, there must be something that you're missing, right? And there must be something that the mainstream diet industry has not been telling you. And the mainstream diet industry does not tell you how critical getting a weight loss mindset is. They don't tell you how critical it is to heal your inner self. They don't tell you how critical it is to let your limiting beliefs go and release those blocks. And they don't tell you how critical it is to get coaching so that you can get beyond the blind spots that you can't even see. All the mainstream diet industry tells you is eat this, don't eat that. I say eat this person says eat that, this other person says eat that, and then there's all this confusion about what to eat, what kind of exercise to do, and then you just keep spinning in your head with all of this information, doubting yourself, doubting this one saying this thing, this one saying that thing, here's this nutritionist that says this, you don't trust your body, you don't trust yourself, just on and on and on and on. And then another 10 years goes by and you still have the same problems, but they're even worse because you've been struggling with them even longer. So it's all a big muckmire, isn't it? And it's very, very frustrating unless you go to the root of the problem, heal your inner self, get the right mindset, and set yourself free. And, you really can do that. You just have to have the right steps. And when you get coaching to do that with the right coach, then all you have to do is plug yourself in and follow the steps. So you don't have to stay in the struggle. You do not have to stay there unless you want to. Some people like it there because it gives them something to talk about. It's time for a commercial break here on the JoLynn Braley Show. This week's sponsor of the JoLynn Braley Show is my free ebook. Go ahead and get that now at www.easyfunweightloss.com, www.easyfunweightloss.com. When you hear that, easyfunweightloss.com, does that irritate you because you've never had an easy, fun time losing weight? It might irritate you, and the only reason that it might is because you're not on the same wavelength. You don't have the right mindset yet. But just imagine, if you did have a weight loss mindset already, then you would have the experience of weight loss being easy and fun. And you'd have the tools so that if you were to get off track and it wasn't easy and it wasn't fun, you'd know exactly how to get back on track. That is where the real power is. Now, what you will get in my free download are 3 simple steps to start making weight loss easier from the inside out. And you can get that right now at www.easyfunweightloss.com. Okay, a couple questions to ask yourself. Grab pen and paper. I highly recommend that you write each question down that I give you. Write it down pen on paper. Pause the podcast when you need more time. And then after you write the question down, write your answer down pen on paper. Why? Because there is a connection that occurs between the head, the hand, and the heart when you write pen on paper. Also, when you write pen on paper, you get out of your head. I've had many coaching clients since I started professionally coaching in 2009, who one of their biggest problems is being stuck up in their head, and they are constantly spinning and obsessing and feeling anxious, but the anxiety is due to this constant spinning in the head. And when you just simply get a pen, get a frickin' piece of paper, a blank piece of paper, and you put that pen on paper and you write. Now, it depends on what you're writing, but I'm giving you a specific exercise here where I'm suggesting that you write each question down that I'm about to give you, and then you write your answer down to that question, pen on paper. It's such a simple thing, but so few people do it. But I'll tell you what, the highly successful use pen on paper, so that might be something to consider. All right, so the first question, have I ever engaged in Last Supper eating? Obviously, this question, you're writing it down for yourself, and then you're going to answer it for yourself. Have I ever engaged in Last Supper eating? Number 2 question, just pause the podcast for more time. Number 2 question, has my Last Supper eating ever made it easier for me to lose weight and keep it off? Has my Last Supper eating ever made it easier for me to lose weight and keep it off? Number 3 question, what are the thoughts I'm thinking that are driving me to this Last Supper eating? What are the thoughts that I'm thinking that are driving me to this Last Supper eating? Now, don't be discouraged if you have a difficult time finding what these thoughts are, especially if you have been stuck in this type of binge eating behavior for a very long time. And this is obviously a specific type of binge eating behavior, this Last Supper eating, because it's the binge eating that you do right before you are telling yourself that you're going to change your eating habits on Monday. But if you have been engaged in this type of behavior for many years, then your brain actually makes it easier for you to keep doing whatever you've been doing the longest. And this is another reason why it's so important to get the right steps that you need to start taking action with, to practice with, like the steps that I give my coaching clients in the Inner Self Diet, and that you get coaching to help you make these changes. And especially when you have a coach who is willing to be honest with you and be upfront with you, no sugarcoating, to get real with you, if that's what you want, because when you get real with yourself, that's when you're going to make the fastest progress. But when you have a coach who will not, they're not there to be your friend. They're there to help you get results, okay? And you get results the fastest when you get real with yourself. And it takes courage. You got to have a courageous coach who will do that for you. But when you have that kind of coaching in your corner, then you're going to transform by leaps and bounds. If you want to transform by leaps and bounds. Like I said, there's some people who really don't want to change. They would prefer, and they do. They continue to just, keep trying to start a new diet every Monday, and they won't get help. And that's cool. But those are people that, I can't help them, that's for sure, because they don't want help. Those are not the types of people that I ever end up coaching because they won't even allow anybody to help them. Question number 4. How would I feel about myself if I could stop this Last Supper binge eating? How would I feel about myself if I could stop this Last Supper binge eating? What would change? How would your life be different? Number 5 question. Where am I going to be a year from now? Have you ever realized how fast a year goes by? 12 months? It goes by super, super fast. But where am I going to be a year from now if I don't heal the root of what's driving me to keep binge eating today? If I just keep going as I am right now, if I just keep binge eating, if I just keep Last Supper binge eating, if I just stay in this pattern 52 times a year, where I'm telling myself Monday's going to be different. I'm really going to do it on Monday. I'm finally going to change on Monday. Oh my God, I'm not going to be able to eat all this food and do whatever I want and eat all that ice cream and have a whole bag of chips to myself. So I better go get that right now and eat all of it today here on Sunday. Okay? So again, the question, if I just keep going as I am right now, if I don't get help, if I don't heal the root of these problems that I've got, what are my results going to be a year from now? What's going to be different? What's going to change? How am I still going to be the same? Or are my problems going to be even worse if I just keep going as I am? Are you getting this? Is it making sense? Okay? Because you can look back over your lifetime. Just look at your results. Okay? I can't make these things up. Either you're struggling and you get exactly what I'm saying here, and you can look back on your life and you can see how many years you've been struggling with this stuff. You know, I've never met anybody who didn't initially start struggling in childhood, whether they were 7, 5, 10, 9, 12, whatever age. It always starts back then. And I have had clients who, they were like me, who were not overweight when their struggles with food and weight first started. But eventually what happens is when these struggles manifest, it always starts in the mind. The mind leads the body. And over time, it just gets worse unless you heal the root of it. Is this making sense? Okay, last question. Who is my coach? Who is my coach? Who is my coach in my corner? Now, take note, a professional coach is not a friend. It's not your husband. It's not your coworker. A professional coach is specifically trained, certified, has skills. You have to pay a coach to coach you. You have to hire a coach to coach you. All right? There is no such thing as free professional coaching. There is no commitment. You have made no commitment to yourself if you have not invested time and money into coaching with a professional coach. So if you do not have a person, a professional that you are paying to coach you right now, then you don't have a professional coach in your corner. And so then add one other question onto these questions. Why aren't I getting professional coaching? If your answer to the previous is that you don't have a coach, then answer this last question. Why aren't I getting professional coaching? Why aren't I getting professional coaching? And if you notice yourself going right to, oh, well, I don't have the money. That's never true. That's never true. Unless you're living in a cardboard box under an overpass, and if that were the case, I don't know how you'd be listening to my voice right now. But the truth is, you always have money for that which you value the most. You always have time for that which you value the most. And so it's all about values and it's all about what you want. Okay? Money is only a source of fear and excuse that will stop you, that you use to stop you from getting the results that you tell yourself you want in your life. So it's very interesting because if you tell yourself that you want to heal the root of all of your food and weight struggles and you want to completely break free, but you don't invest the time and money in yourself to get the coaching and the tools to do that, then that right there is that's the glaring sign that either you really don't want to change or you don't value it high enough, because you will spend money on the cruise, on the car, on the big flat screen TV to sit in front of to eat all of your binge food because you place a higher value on it and because that's what you want. So, in the end, it's not a bad thing to just keep doing what you're doing and just keep struggling and be unhappy with yourself and your binge eating and your body. But what's really important is that you take full responsibility for your choices and for your choice to be where you are. And this is true for every person on the planet. It's true for me too. Okay? Nobody is exempt. Everybody gets to make their own choices, and you can be, do, and have anything in this lifetime if you are willing to put in the time and effort and the money to get the help that you need, to get the tools you need, to make the changes that you're telling yourself you want to make. And if you don't want to really make those changes or you don't really want help, then you won't do it. And it's all your choice. And so the happier that you can be with your own choices, the better that you're going to feel. Your happiness is your choice too. In fact, didn't our old friend Abraham Lincoln say that? Happiness is a choice. Were those his exact words? Is that the quote? You can Google it. But it really is a choice, and it's all about focus. And hey, if you are a graduate of the Inner Self Diet and you're listening to this podcast, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But you've already got all the tools that you need, and you know exactly what you need to do. So you're on a different playing field. But anyway, hey, this, like I said, this right here is the first of a series of 3 podcasts that I'm doing on this topic of Last Supper eating. And so next week, tune in for episode number 133. That topic is going to be 3 clear signs that you are a Last Supper eater. 3 signs that you're a Last Supper eater. So I'm going to detail it and break it down, and that'll be a really good podcast also. Make sure that you are subscribed to the JoLynn Braley Show in your favorite podcast outlet, whether that is iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Spotify, TuneIn, iTunes, wherever it is that you are finding the JoLynn Braley Show. I would love it if you would sign up for free and subscribe for free to my podcast, The JoLynn Braley Show, on iTunes. That would be awesome. And after you subscribe for free to The JoLynn Braley Show on iTunes, please rate the show and then review it. To rate it, you give it a star rating. I personally think this is a 5-star podcast because I'm talking about the real deal here. This is not just food and exercise tips. You can get that information anywhere. In fact, that is the easiest part of the whole problem. You probably, if you're like my coaching clients, you already know exactly the right way to eat for your body. You know exactly what works for your body, but the problem is that you're not doing it. You either can't get started, or you can't keep going, or you can't maintain the weight after you lose it. All right. And this is all, it's the biggest part of the problem is mindset. 92.8% of it, you've got to get a weight loss mindset. My coaching clients in the Inner Self Diet do get a weight loss mindset because they get the tools to heal the root of the real problem. So like I was saying, go to iTunes, subscribe to my free weight loss podcast there on iTunes, The JoLynn Braley Show. Rate the show and then review it. Write a couple sentences or even just one sentence. Share what your biggest aha is that you've gotten from the show. I would love to read that on iTunes. Also, If you actually want help, if you actually want to end your binge eating, your last supper eating, or your emotional eating, your compulsive overeating, whatever the problem is, if you want to end your food and weight struggles and get it done in 8 weeks or less, if you are serious about ending this struggle so that you can stop asking yourself, why am I so smart and I'm so successful? Except with this food and weight issue. If you'd love to get this fixed and you want to do it as fast as possible, then head on over to www.discovery-session.com. That's www.discovery-session.com. And that's where you start with entering your name and your first name and your email address. And then on the next page, we'll pop you on over to an application. You need to complete an application, and that's an application to apply for a complimentary one-on-one weight loss discovery session with me over the phone. And on that call, we could find out if it would be a good mutual fit to work together for me to coach you through my proven steps in the Inner Self Diet. And if it is a good mutual fit, then I'm happy to tell you more about how that would all work. But first, I'd need to find out more about you. I have no idea who you are listening to this right now. And for all I know, you could be an alien from another planet. I have no idea. I'm just here in my home office recording studio, recording this podcast, and I don't know who you are. So there is no entrance into the Inner Self Diet without the complimentary weight loss discovery session with me. Because in the Inner Self Diet, you work with me personally. Okay? It's not like being in a very, very, very large group of people where I'm coaching everybody at the same time. If that were the case, then you wouldn't need to have any discovery session call with me. But because in the Inner Self Diet, we're working on ending your food and weight struggles as quickly as possible, 8 weeks or less, then, we've got to find out where you're at, how serious are you, what are your specific challenges, what's going on, and all that good stuff. So, if you really want to get this thing fixed and you really want to get it done, start at www.discovery-session.com. I am JoLynn Braley, permanent weight loss coach, founder of the amazing, the empowering Inner Self Diet. I wish you your best life living inside of your ideal body. Yay!